But I mean, it works. Why, hello there. So, us? Anyways, I have had actually numerous questions about 8-way animation for top-down. Actually, it was even popped up in the Patreon Discord as well. A couple times, actually. So, since I do have a few Patreons that do want 8-way, and I've been super busy lately, just insanely busy, but I wanted to get a video out because it's been like 8 days. Lord Tunnard. So, I thought I'd do a quick 8-way. Now, I don't have an 8-way top-down character, so I went over to Itch and I found a free one. It'll do. And I've made the animations. Nothing special, right? They're just... Where it is... Oh yeah, he just doesn't have them on right now. Anyways, so I have the animations, and I wanted to show you how I would set that up. And there's a few different ways to do this. So the first thing is, let's just give them a box collider and a rigid body, 2D. And let's turn off gravity scale. So now at least we can move them around if need be. And more importantly, let's jump into the animator. So like I said, now I've already made the animations, and I haven't done anything with the animator. In fact, I wiped it out, so we'll do that. And what I'm actually going to do is we're going to put in, we'll say 2, 4 floats. We'll say move X. Maybe we need a move Y. And we need a idle X and idle Y and a bool for is moving. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to create actually, if you want to keep things clean, make a substate machine. Like that. And let's hop into that. So if you double click on a sub-state machine, it's kind of like you get a miniature animator, sort of. It's kind of a nice way to keep things clean. So I'm going to create a new blend tree inside that's the sub-state machine. Let's make this one walking, and let's make another blend tree. This one can be called idle. And I'm going to link these two up, just back and forth. So from walking, no exit time, is moving is false. And from idle up, exit time off, is moving is true. Okay, double click on the walking, let's go into it. I'm going to go with a blend tree 2D, and I'm going to add some motion fields. Oh, I didn't mean to put a blend tree in there. Yes, delete the blend tree. Now we have what? 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Alright, let's just zero these things off because I like to start fresh. Okay, so we said this is our walking. So if I go to my walk, if I'm going to be walking down left, I know my X is -1, my y is -1, down left. And if I'm walking up right, I go 1, 1. Walking down, -1 and 0. Down right. Walking left. Walking right. Walking up. And up left. So there we have that. And we could alter those a bit if you have isometric, if you wanted to get a little fancier here, if you felt like doing the math for it. I'm not going to bother doing that right now, but there is a walking based on move X and move Y. Now I'm going to jump into the idle, and I'm going to do the same thing, but we're going to use the idle X, idle Y. And I'm just going to add a whole bunch of these, roughly 8. Zero those off so they don't confuse us. And these are the idles. So we have idle down, and again, same idea. Down is -1 on the Y. Idle up, which is +1 on the Y. Down left, and idle left. Idle right, idle, where am I here? Up left, and idle up right. We need an idle down right. And same idea, we have our 8 points. So now we have this very nice simple 2 blend trees with a bool controlling if we're going to one or the other. And this thing here can probably actually, let's just go into the settings. I'm going to take this transition time to 0. I don't want any transition time. There we go. Right, and it's all contained in this sub-state machine. It's like an FSM. Right, so there it is. So, how do we control it though? That's the key. That is the key. So, we know we're going to have 9 states. We're going to have an idle. We're going to have a left, right, up, down, up, left, up, right, down, left, down, right. And I'm going to make sure those are all global for this because it makes my life a lot easier. So I am going to, on the start, I am going to add a idle, and then over here I'm going to add each of those accordingly. Because we're using globals, it doesn't matter what order we put them in, which is nice. Make 2 rows, keep things kind of clean. And there is down right. All right, down right, yeah. So there is a nice little action. So one thing that's in vanilla Playmaker is axes event. That's cool, but it only covers 4. That's not good enough. Nope. But in the ecosystem, good old ecosystem, we have axes event axes event extended. That's the one we're looking for. And the extended is just like the axes event, but it is 8-way. So let's add an axes event extended. You can see we have this. So if we have left, we're going left. If we have right, right, up, down, up left, up right, down left, down right. No direction. I'm going to put idle. Don't keep it there because it's going to cause issues. But I'm going to keep that so I can come over here and just paste it everywhere. Now, I'm going to go into the idle. I don't want idle from idle, right? I don't want down from down. I don't want left from left, and so forth, right? We're going to do that to all of them. Because if you were in this state, and if you were to keep those, you would very, very quickly have a 1000 infinite loop thing, and it would disable the FSM. And we don't want that either, do we? No, we don't. Okay, so now if I just hit play just on that, it's not controlling the animator yet, but if you watch, alright, so as you see, we're sitting in the idle, which would only make sense. And if I push, right, I can do all kinds of things. So it controls. So what do we do? Well, let's set bool, animator bool, in here to is moving, false. Bring it over here, is true. Copy it again. And let's just paste it in all these states. And I wonder if I should keep these on. It just makes it so that it only does something if it changes. I mean, you might be able to get away with having the left in the left with those on. I don't know. I haven't tried, but all right. So now, technically, now we have moving. So what's the other thing we're going to need? Set animator floats. I'm going to take a whole bunch of those. So move, move, and the idles. All right. So if we're going down, what are we doing? The X is 0. That's -1. And -1 on the idle. Copy all those, paste them over here. So if we're going left, we want to be moving -1, and we're doing the idles with it, because if we let go, then the animator is going to run off of the idle, not the movement. That's why we can get away with using a blend tree. Okay, so that's right, we need to go 1. I almost messed that up. And if we're going up, 1, 1, we're going up, left, -1, 1, -1, 1, up, right, so we're going 1, 1, 1, 1. Everything's a 1. Everyone's a winner. And down left. -1, -1. These are all -1s. Everyone's a loser. Down right, which is over, down, over, down. Perfect. All right. Let's take a look. Now he's not actually moving yet, but now he's moving this way, that way. We want to go up that way. There we go. And now if we want to add animation to it, or actual movement to it, then what we really need to do is set velocity, not the chronos. Oh, not that one. We want the 2D, but not the chronos. All right, let's get rid of that one. So if we're going down, we can go set velocity. We'll do it every frame. Copy, paste, and let's go -1. For the up lefts, I'm actually going to go 0.7s, just so we don't. It's just that if you're moving on a angle, it seems kind of weird if you're going the velocity of 1 going in. You end up covering more ground that way. Put it that way. Cool. So I'm just going to bring those down a bit. You don't have to. I mean, you can use the ones. That's totally fine. It's totally up to you. But right, so I'm just kind of following that same pattern with everything. And we need another set velocity in the idle. Only we're going to go 0. This one we don't need every frame though, because if you're 0, you're 0. Hey, you could put it every frame, I guess. Stop you from getting bounced around, I suppose. have a little 8-way controller. But you notice how if I stop moving, he keeps facing, well, sort of. The angles are a little iffy, I suppose. I think it's because releasing the keys at that moment. And if you release them perfectly at the same time, I think it's good. But overall, working pretty good. You almost need an axes raw vent. I think that would probably do a little better. Because if you and if you wanted to see that real quick, let's just edit this script. And I know that's probably terrifying, but it's not that bad, really. We're literally just going to add a word. And if you want to know what the difference between a raw axis compared to a normal axis, if you watch a normal axis, they kind of have that gradual climb and drop. I mean, it's quick, don't get me wrong. It goes 0 to 1 pretty freaking rapidly. The axis raw is 0 or 1. There is no halfway. So if I open up the action, and you have all this crazy stuff in here, we see all sorts of this stuff, and we're thinking, man, what is all this? And like, okay, let's shrink this down. I'm gonna hit these little things so we don't see this. The enter and the update. See how we have this get current direction? So in here, it's storing the input get axes, the horizontal axes dot value. Right, and what we want is this input get axes. We want to change get axes to get axes raw. And if I copy that and I can paste it here, we now have get axes raw extended event. And if you wanted to get even fancier, just in case, let's add a bool up top and say use raw. Oh, public bool. So we just added a variable. And now I can say copy all of this. I'm just going to come down here and paste it. And then up here I'm going to say if use raw, put a little curly bracket, put the other side of the curly bracket, then we can do this, else we'll do this one, and this one can just be the get axes. There we go. So now if we use raw, we'll use the raw, or else we'll use the axes. That's it. You just did some coding. So now axes event extended is super extended, because it's now, it can be converted into the raw axes, right? So use raw. I can now turn that on, right? We can just turn that on all of them. And there we have, now we've changed it to the use raw. So and the raw would, but yeah, see how that's, and so you still kind of get that weird, you almost need a bit of a delay in there or something when you let go. but it feels sharper now. Like it feels, it stops much faster. Like it's just better.